Violent crime is a serious problem for cities around the world. The harm can be devastating, and it can last for generations. In response, governments usually dial up law enforcement or throw people in jail. But research shows there's another way. This other way provides mental health counseling alongside cash grants to the most violent people. It focuses on the small number who do most of the violent crime in cities. And it works. The best evidence comes from a 10-year study in Monrovia, Liberia.
I was living like a gangster life. Yeah, because just from the war, everything was just upside down.
I was on the street, I was in the ghetto, I was smoking, I was like someone major, someone not important in society.
We had almost 15 years of civil war.
Tens of thousands of youth being conscripted into the war, and we saw that many of those youth were not successfully reintegrated into communities. Most of them are homeless. Most of them don't have skill set.
Young people who get involved into violence and crimes, they do it because that is the source of survival.
It's 2008. I'm in Liberia. I decided I wanted to learn how crime and violence operated in the city. So I called up this guy I'd met a couple times named Johnson Bohr in about 1994 in the middle of the Civil War. Johnson and a friend of his named Morley Guguzawu were in a field hospital when they met. They decided to get out of this life and to help young people like themselves.
I saw that there was a need. How could we actually reintegrate youth into normal society?
He was taking these young men who, frankly, they were frightening and they seemed far gone. I met a lot of these guys. And Johnson seemed to be saying, no, in a very short space of time, they could totally change who they are. They want to change who they are.
If you fought war before and you just leave it from the war, that heart, it will still be there until someone will counsel you, talk to you for some time before your heart will be changing.
I don't think Johnson or I had ever heard of CBT. Johnson just knew what worked. Cognitive behavioral therapy is short, which is good because it's hard to get guys like this. You can't put them in 4 years of therapy. It's also very focused on problematic behaviors. And these guys had some serious problematic behaviors. It has a pretty good record with helping you slow down your thinking so that in that moment you recognize there's some other way to deal with this problem, which was the first and most important objective of the program. And we have this magic formula that can do it. And that seemed too good to be true. And that's kind of what I do for a living. I run around the world trying to find too good to be true.
When Chris got interested and decided to build a research component to this particular program, from a randomized control trial, we arrived at what we now call the STYL project.
The STYL program is finding the most dangerous young men. Then you have to persuade them to join the program, which again was Johnson's forte.
And we provide psychosocial, an 8-week group CBT, 3 days a week, 3 to 4 hours a day. We do one-on-one follow-up. We actually make sure that youth practice real-life situation. We want to see what interaction they are going to have at the supermarket, what resistance they're going to face, and then that is debriefed in our section. If you know you want to go to the supermarket to test the exercise, one of those priority or requirement is cutting your hair and look neat.
What appealed to me is that I wanted changes in my life. I was talk about anger management, body cleaner, banking system, whole lot of things.
And only after those 8 weeks together do we introduce an economic component, which in this case was a $200 cash grant. This was an opportunity for them to do something different with their life, at least for a little while. And it might be shine shoes, sell used goods in the marketplace. Basically, it's startup capital. On top of all that, we had to do this as a lottery. We wanted to be able to look at people who had the program and who didn't. And that's how we'd be able to see what the impact was. So we first ran a lottery for the cognitive behavioral component, those 2 months of therapy. And then we ran another lottery for the $200 in cash.
At that time, I was sleeping on the street. So that $200, I took something from there and I was able to rent a room. And the bottom one, I started studying with him.
Since I went through the program and I started learning how to save, I started learning how to take care of my home, how to control my temper.
Whether we were looking at the people who got the program or didn't, a good proportion of them were doing much better. You know, they'd climbed out of that hole. The people who got the therapy part, so we're in front of Johnson's people for 8 weeks, bounced back faster and at a much higher rate. And the people who got both, that was even more impressive. They were about half as likely as the members of the control group to still be in this life of violence. It's not that they just, you know, instead of committing 25 crimes a year, they all committed 12 or 13 crimes a year. Half of them maybe stayed up with those 25 crimes a year, and half of them got out of this life.
Since the STYL program, I went through the training. People invite me to go places I never used to go. People I never used to interact with, people I never used to accept my friendship. They are now talking to me because I know more part of substance abuse, I know more part of this bad habit.
This is a phenomenal result. We are happy as a government, for such a result because it will inform our policy decisions.
STYL model have been used in Bogota, in Colombia. Chicago is presently using part of the STYL model to actually reduce gun violence.
We have a 60% reduction in shooting and homicide arrests in the group that go through the program, which is massive. So you weight those things by their cost to society, and the homicides are the worst. This is a fantastic program, passes every cost-benefit test you could hope for.
Where I came from, there are so many people need help. So when the STYL program can change me and make me to become someone today, I feel they should come and do it for my friends back here because there's many want help here.
I'm advocating and I'm also appealing to STYL to talk to the government so that they can bring more opportunity in for youth and for those that feel that they are lost or hope. I was a street man, like in Liberia people say Zoko. But now, I think you can see, I'm a family man.
I know that I have hope and opportunity because where I'm from is different than where I am now.